Arim Roshi Esoinai Elehoim Vamerchakim Vikoli Yisham
to talk and teach and learn about the Torah Kadosh Hashem's commands to Klal Yisrael. So we have less than 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, and of course the big mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah, the 2 days, is Tekiyah Shofar. And Mechaber and Mishtabur and Kuf Tzadi first Sif says, Kama Tekiyahs Chayav Adam Lishmo Rosh Hashanah. Teisha, how many Tekiyahs does a person have to hear on Rosh Hashanah? 9. If you should name a Trua b'Yovel, it says Trua by Yovel, and Rosh Hashanah Shlosh Pamim. Between Yovel and Rosh Hashanah, in the Torah it says Trua. Now, the Rambam speaks about the point about Trua, because as we're not sure exactly what the Trua is that the Torah is referring to, we blow, as the Mechaber goes on to say, we go Tashrat, Tashat, and Torat. So I'll just demonstrate that's what we're blowing. This is Tashrat. That's Tashrat. Then you have Tashat. Then you have Torat. What's the Trua? So since we're not sure what the Trua is, we have to blow all the different permutations.
And they have a glue.
So the big question is, what's Trua? Since we don't really know what Trua is, we have to blow Tashrat, because it could be that Trua is Shvarim and Trua. It could be that it's just Shvarim, or it could be Trua. So we blow Shvarim by itself, we blow Trua by itself, and we blow Shvarim Trua together. We want to cover all bases. So the Rambam explains, because of his lashon is Orach Hashonim, the length of years, and Roiva Goylios, the many exiles that Klal has gone through. We don't know exactly what the Trua of the Torah means. So the Chassan Sofer asks the question, and he says, Chedushim on the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, which is basically the last sugi in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, asks, how can this be? What is our suffix here, according to the Rambam, right? This is something which Klal Yisrael received from Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Trua. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai, wrote the Torah, Yom Trua, right? And he explained to Klal Yisrael, he demonstrated exactly what a Trua was, without doubt. And not only that, the Chassan Sofer deepens his question. This is something which was done year after year, right? Through the history of Klal Yisrael, most likely without any interruption. How could it be that we would forget such a thing like that? It's obvious, what did you remember from last year? Was it like this? Or was it like this? Two different sounds, right? So how can this suffix, how can this doubt creep into the knowledge base of Klal Yisrael? That's the Chassan Sofer's question. So he goes on to explain that what Trua is depends on time and place. It's not something which is koveya. He brings rayas, because what's the first Trua that's mentioned? Trua of Yovel, right? The Trua that's talked about by Rosh Hashanah, so the Targum Onkelos is Targum Yavava. It's Yavava, which is basically a cry. Basically a cry. How do we know what kind of a cry it is? The Gemara brings down, we learn it from Ema de Sisra, the mother of Sisra. Sisra was a general, right? And he came to do battle against Klal Yisrael, and he lost the battle, right? Lost the war, and he was killed by Yael, and it was taking some time for the mother waiting by the window, taking one look after the next, waiting for her son to come, both in her way of thinking, gloriously from from war to come home, and he's not coming, he's not coming, he's not coming. So finally she gives up hope, years, and she starts crying, right? So you can imagine the pain, right, of a woman, a mother, over the loss of her son. That's a very painful cry. No doubt, a very extremely painful cry. Probably the most painful cry you can imagine. As a matter of fact, the Medrash brings down that part of the Yavava, part of the cry of the Shofar, the Medrash brings down in Parshas Kaisara, that when, after the Akedah, which is a very deep part of our Avodah in Rosh Hashanah, after the Akedah, Avram was successful in passing the test of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? The Baal Dover, the Satan, came to Sarah and he says, you know what? Right? He almost shechted Yitzchak. And she let out a cry, right? Also, lahavdil, a mother, over the thought of the loss of her son, let out a cry. And that's also Yavava, that's a cry, a truah. Now, there's two ways of the Machlokus and the Meforshim exactly what kind of a cry she let out, Sarah. That, what does it mean that he almost shechted him? Was she crying that, oh, he almost killed him? Or the fact that he didn't? Right? Machlokus. Right? What was she crying about? That, oh, halavai, he was brought up as an oila to me mamish and brought on the mizbeach for Hashem. Or, almost, because the question is, so it almost happened. So what are you crying about that? So she was nifter on the spot. She was yotze nishmasai with the cry, and then we have the next parsha. Hi, Sarah. Avram is coming to give a hesped for his Sarah. So Yavava, what a cry. So if you learn out from Amid the Sisra, the Gemara learns at Amid the Sisra, which is obviously a deeply painful cry. Chazon Sofer says, hold on a second. We're learning out from Yovel, right? What's the true of Yovel all about? On Yom Kippur, in the Jubilee year of Yovel, the 50th year, 7 cycles of Shemitah, the 50th year after that, 49th year, we blow the shofar on Yom Kippur, right? And what's that for? For the freedom of the slaves. That, the Chasam Sofer says, is by absolute, without any doubt, a cry of joy. It's got to be. The slaves are going free. And you might say, well, you know, this guy's been, Leroy's been such a good Jew, for, you know, I've been a slave for me, right? And, you know, it's hard to let him go. What a terrible thing to do, you know? No. First of all, you're talking about, right? You're talking about every debris, right? Not Leroy. You're talking about every debris. He's going home. He wanted to stick around, right? And he can stick around. So Yovel, he gets that free. That's the end of it. 50 years is the maximum that a Jew can be in servitude. And so when the Jew's going home, the master, okay, maybe not with Lev Shalom, but the slaves are certainly very happy. He's going home, right? And he gets tips, he gets matanas. We just learned about that a few weeks ago, right? You have to, when he goes out, you have to thank him, just like with the Mitzrayim. We took matanas from the Mitzrayim when we came out of Egypt, right? You have to give a nice tip to your Ebed that he did such good work for you all these years, yeah? So that's a cry of joy. So what's going on here? How could the cry of Yavava, the true of Rosh Hashanah, be a sad cry, and yet we learn out from Yovel, which is a happy cry? So the Chasam Sofer goes on and explains, you have to realize something else. That in the Midbar, there was a din of Katzotros. Katzotros. When Machin would move, right? When the Machin would move, Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded by the Kadosh Baruch Hu to blow the Katzotros. Right? And the Chasam Sofer says that there's a big difference between the beginning of our journeys in the Midbar and the last journeys of our Midbar. Before the Chet Meraglim, right, when Moshe Rabbeinu blew, everyone say, wow, it's time to move on. We're going closer and closer to Eretz Yisrael. We're getting closer to our goal, right? Getting closer to our Sinai, we're getting closer to Eretz Yisrael. We'll be there in no time at all, right? That's a very happy cry, very happy sound. But after they had the Meraglim, right, There's a gezerah. You're not going in so fast. You got to wait 38 years or so before you're going to come into Eretz Israel. Where are you going to go now? What's going to happen? Right? On every Tisha B'Av, they dug their graves. Everyone went down and sit down and lay down in the graves, and some got up, some didn't get up. Right? Not such a happy thing. Right? So he says, from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, Trua had different connotations based on the time and the circumstances. Right? So even from the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, right, it was Toli v'oimid. It was not fixed what a true is supposed to be. Right? So, you can understand that in our situation, right, what's Rosh Hashanah to us, what's Trua to us? So, there's another thing. The Gemara says everyone's chayiv in Tekiyah Shofar. Right? Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. What do you mean everyone's chayiv in Tekiyah Shofar? What are we adding on Kohanim and Levim for? What's the question here that the Gemara has to say Kohanim are chayiv in Tekiyah Shofar as well on Rosh Hashanah? Because the fact is that in the Beis Hamikdash with all the karbanos, there was the usage of the katzotzros, right, to be blown along with the offering of the korbanos, right? So they heard, right, every day. They heard Tekiyah, Trua Tekiyah, right? More than that, the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah says, on Rosh Hashanah you're supposed to have the Shofar, the Emsa, and the Katzotzros, the two Katzotzros on the opposite sides, two Kohanim, you have three, one Kohen in the middle blowing a Shofar, and a Kohen on the left side, right side and left side, and they blow Katzotzros. And the Katzotzros are Mekatzer, they are a shorter length of time, and the Shofar is Myrick, because that's Mitzvah Hayom, that's Mitzvah Hayom. On Tainus, it's opposite, that the Katzotzros are Myrick, they're more, longer, and the Shofar is shortened. Because that's the mitzvah Yom on Tainus. So the Kohanim were hearing these sounds every day. So the answer is, one of the answers is, the Kohanim and Levim have to be included in the special mitzvah of Tekiyah Shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And that was obviously at the time of the Beis Hamikdash also a happy sound, right? Even if it was a chatas, right, an asham that was being brought. But the fact that the person's having to pour, this was brought at the end of the whole stage of the avoda, right? The person came to Yerushalayim, he brought his korban, right? There was a shchita, kabbalas adam, zrikas adam, all it was, whatever it was completely offered, and then at that time you would blow the katzotzos, right? So there was a very happy time. That was a time of joy when we had the Beis Hamikdash. But we don't have the Beis Hamikdash Bisman Hazeh, right? So now, right, even though the limud from Trua, that it's the Eimid de Sisra, a very deep and painful cry, right? That's because at the time of the Gemara, right, when Rav Avahu made the Takana, because there were those who were blowing Tashat, there were those who were blowing Tarat, right? So he made the Takana that you would blow Tashrat, right? There were places would blow like this, Tashrat. Some would blow like that, Tashrat. Some would blow Tashat. Some would blow Tarat. And since again the Torah didn't say exactly what the true was, right? So these places developed their sort of a minhag, how to mekayim the din of the Torah. And he saw that, you know, to make a unified thing would blow Tashrat. Everything, the Tekiyah, Shra and Trua, and Tekiyah, everything together. And we, because we're not so sure exactly how to do everything, we want to be Yotzi, all the permutations of what Trua could possibly be, we blow 3 sets of everything. But now we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, right? So clearly, right? Clearly, our trua, right, is not a happy sound. It's not a happy cry. So that's what the Gemara explains. We're not sure what kind of a cry it is. Is it shvarim? Or is it trua? And as the Gemara explains, is it like a person who's moaning, right? Each one of the shevers is like a moan. Person moans, right? And then, or is it a wail? Right? And the Gemara says, well, it's really could be both, because that's the way a person cries. A person starts off by moaning, oh, 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 and then he starts wailing away. Right? He starts. Watch a child, like you take the lollipop away from a child, right? When they bang themselves, how to show them get hurt, right? They start moaning, and then they take a big deep breath, and they let out all these short, very rapid sounds of wails, right? And that's very understandable since we're in Gullus, right? We're in the middle of our Gullus. That's what the Rambam said. It's been a long time, many years, and there have been lots of Gullusim. There have been lots of unfortunate, very difficult exiles that we've been going through. So our trua, according to all the explanations, is not of joy, rather it's of crying. How are we supposed to cry? And crying has a lot to do with the avoda of Rosh Hashanah. It's brought down in the Shem the Rizal that if a person is crying on Rosh Hashanah for apparently almost no reason whatsoever, right? It's a sign to him that he's being judged at that moment, right? That the neshama, sometimes, the neshama is much more sensitive to things that we're not sensitive to, right? And if the person is feeling an urge to cry, so that's a sense that the neshama has, it's being judged, right? So a certain person should certainly try and be at that point involved with some type of avodas Hashem, right? That's the most important thing. Zedel Epstein's Itzal and Mishkiach and Torah, or would many times speak before Rosh Hashanah, giving various different advice on what to do to be Zoike and Din on Rosh Hashanah. What he said was always to try and be involved with a mitzvah. Obviously, learning is the best mitzvah you can be involved with. Even if you just say a pasuk to yourself or memorize the Mishnah to yourself, and constantly, whenever you're not doing anything else, just repeat the Mishnah, learn a couple lines of Gemara, just repeat it yourself, Itmar, Yishalom Midas, Abai Omer Lo Avi Yish, Harami Yiddish, repeat it again and again and again. There's nothing like Divrei Torah that can be Magin Umatzil, right? So, the Rebbe would many times speak before Shana, and this is one of the main things he would mention to us. Be involved with the mitzvah. So if that's a person's all of a sudden finding himself crying, right? Get involved with the mitzvah if you're not involved already. Sometimes you're in the middle of davening, so putting more kavanah into the davening, right? The Yesod of Rosh Hashanah being the day when the world was created, so that's not exactly true. It's really the day that Adam Rishon was created, right? The world was created according to Rabbi Eliezer. In Tishrei, the world was created before in Rosh Hashanah. That Kafei Tishrei is the day that the world was created, and Kafei El. Yeah, excuse me, thank you, very good. Kafei El, the day the world was created, and then on Aleph Tishrei was the day that Adam Rishon was created, and he was also judged. So that's the whole idea, the judgment that's taking place on Rosh Hashanah. One of the questions that's asked is, why does the Torah leave this so unclear? It just mentions Beremez, it's Yom Trua, Yom Yavava, we have to learn out from Emed the Sisra, right? And if you take a look at it, so that's a pasuk in Shofti, right? Pasuk in Shofti. Emed the Sisra, right? So how do we know that, right? There was no videos at the time of Emed the Sisra. Who was there watching what this broken-hearted mother was doing by the window, watching for her son coming back from battle as he hoped it would be. And Baruch Hashem, he wasn't. Right? So you believe that Shmuel wrote, the more Baba Basra says that Shmuel wrote Sefer Shoftim. He wrote Shmuel and Shifroi, and Shvatim. He also wrote Ruths, according to the more Baba Basra. So we know this through prophecy. We know all this from the fact that Shmuel wrote it down. He wasn't there either. Right? I didn't know Shmuel was alive at the time. I don't know. Check. Deborah was the prophet at the time, right? Shmuel, I think, came after, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check it out. I'm not sure. So we believe this, that we know what Amid, the mother of Sisra, did through the words that were written down by Shmuel, who we received that from the Kadosh Baruch Hu through Ruach HaKodesh, from the Nevuah. Right? So we're doing all this based on the fact that it's only a remez, Yom True in the Torah, that the Targum says, right, it's Yom Yavava, Yom of crying. And we learn out, there's a Yavava of Amid Sisra, and that's a connection to Rosh Hashanah. There's a Gemara Chazal explained to us. And based on that fact, right, we blow the shofar as we blow it, each and every year, until we is a goyel of Ezra Hashem. So when we're standing on Rosh Hashanah in less than 2 weeks now, so it's a time, all the Sforim bring down, that it's time of tshuva. The Zman of the Tikiyah Shofar is the Zman of tshuva. The question to ask here is that really you're not supposed to mention anything about Averas on Rosh Hashanah. We don't do any vidui on Rosh Hashanah. Ad kedei kach, when we say Avinu Mokeinu Katanu Lefenecha, we're supposed to think, the Shofar brings this down, Lamaisa, we're not supposed to think about our own personal Averas. We're supposed to think that our forefathers did Averas, of Avodah Zorah, right? But we're not referring to any of our personal Averas, because it's Yom Adin, and we don't want to cast any dispersions upon ourselves on this Yom Adin. Therefore, don't mention anything about any Avera, any sin on Rosh Hashanah. Save that for Tzom Gedalia and all the days up until every Yom Kippur, and save that for Yom Kippur, doing Galchet, right? Vidui, that's the avodah of Yom Kippur and the source of the Tshuva. But, however, 2 of those 10 days of Tshuva are Rosh Hashanah. And it's brought down, it's explained to us that the Zman of the Tikiyah Shofar is a time of Tshuva. So what possible Tshuva can we do, even though we don't mention it? And we're not mentioning anything at the time of the Tikiyahs, because the mitzvah of Tikiyah Shofar is not in the blowing of the Shofar, it's in the listening to the Shofar. We say, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvah savet zivano l'shmoya kol shofar, to listen to the call of the shofar, the sound of the shofar. That's our mitzvah of listening. Even if who's blowing the shofar is not doing a mitzvah with his blowing, he's also Mekayim fulfilling the mitzvah through his listening to what he's blowing. So he can't talk. As a matter of fact, the halacha is from the time of the brachas, of the tikiyas which are made before Musaf, until all the tikiyas are made till the end of the Chazoras Hashatz, at the end of Musaf, you're not supposed to speak except those things which you have to speak for the davening, because it's all one mitzvah, and you don't want to make a hefsek, a break, an interruption in the bracha that you made, that was made by the Baal Tikiyah, through all the tikiyas, the 100 korils that we're supposed to be listening to. So what's the tshuva that you're supposed to be doing at the time of listening to tikiyas? Right? So the very most simple thing we can say, my opinion, is we say and we show to Kadosh Baruch Hu, what are we doing, right? We are listening to your commands. Your command is, right, to blow the shofar. How do we know that? As we started off, it says trua. All these things are concealed. All these things are been brought to us, care of Chazal, right? The Gemara, the Talmud, Torah Shabbat. It's very sussum. It's all covered up in Torah Shabbat. It's explained why is it covered up in Torah B'Ksav? Because what's written in the Torah is only something which is unique to Klal Yisrael. The fact that Rosh Hashanah is Yom Adin is not unique to Klal Yisrael. It is something which is relevant to the whole Bria, the whole universe. The cosmos is being judged, right? At that time of Rosh Hashanah, right? From the time of the creation of the world, Rosh Hashanah has been a time of din. Nothing changed when we were Makabel the Torah at Har Sinai in this aspect. Right? This is explained by Rav Ibn Shoyev. He's a Talmud of the Rashba. He said the Rishonim on his time already talked about this point, right? That there is nothing unique in terms of Yom Hadin that changed at the time of Matan Torah. There was Yom Hadin from the time of the creation of the world. Adam Rishon was judged because of the Chet of Adam Rishon eating from the Eitz Hadas on that day on Aleph Tishrei. And every year it's renewed the judgment. Right? So therefore, it's not like Sukkah or the din of Matzah, which is something which is Nogea, unique to Klal Yisrael. We do have a unique mitzvah on Rosh Hashanah of Shofar, but that's only, as I said, by remes, only a hint to that. And therefore, what are we doing on Rosh Hashanah? Our tshuva is that we are listening to what Chazal have told us how to fulfill this very, so to speak, hidden mitzvah that the Kodesh Baruch Hu has given us. And of all the mitzvahs in the Torah, a mitzvah maisis, a mitzvah that you have to do, right? This is probably the easiest one. All you have to do is come to shul and listen, right? The one who has the hard work, the one who's blowing the shofar, right? But even that, okay, so you practice it a little bit, you get used to it, and then you blow, right? And really, you only have to blow 9 coils, right? You blow 9 coils, and you're done with it. That's midoraisa, you're yotzi, right? What you have to do for a sukkah, what you have to do for matzah, right? What you have to do for tefillin, right? It's indescribable the difference between listening to a shofar and what you have to do to get tefillin. If we had to make our own tefillin, you have to start before you're born, before you get everything. You have to get the cloth. You have to get everything ready and the ink. You imagine that, right? The Gemara Bracha says Elkanah was praising Kodesh Baruch Hu because he had it so much better than on a Marishon. On a Marishon, if he wanted to make clothes, he'd have to plant flax. He'd have to plant shear wool. He'd have to spin everything and make fabric, and he'd have to weave a garment right from scratch. If he wanted shoes, he'd have to make leather from scratch. The Tana was in the Gemara Bracha. It says, "Look, Baruch Hashem, I want shoes. I go here to the shuk, I buy. I want clothes, I go to the shuk and buy." Right? Not like on a Marishon. Right? Shofar, right, is perhaps the easiest mitzvah that we have in the whole Torah to Mekayim. Right? But what's behind it? Emunas Chachamim, our full-fledged, wholehearted belief in what we're doing is what Hashem has given the Nevuah and the Ruach HaKodesh to the Chachamim, and that's what we're doing. And that, Mini Daiti, is the biggest schus that we can have in Rosh Hashanah, that what are we doing? We're reinforcing our fact of we have Emunas Chachamim, whatever they tell us, we call Dor B'Dor, we call Zman B'Zman, we're going to follow them. What's in the Shulchan Aruch, what's in the Gemara, right? And with that schus, it should be Zoicha, the Oimed in Din, and it should be a Shana Tovu Mekukim.
Arim Roshim